Welcome to the Wing Podcast. This is Chris.
And Rachel. So before we get started, I would like to just thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us. It's awesome that you're here. We are looking for reviews. This is a shameless plug, not going to lie. If you guys have a second to leave us a review, you can rate us however you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do with that part, but whoever leaves us a review, we will read your review live for the next time we're recording episodes. So we're going to read your review live. We also still have Profit First books from Mike Michalowicz, I'm sorry. So yeah, they're autographed too. So big deal here. We will send you one of those books for free if you leave us a review. So leave us a review, good, bad, ugly. We'd prefer good though. But yeah, if you could tell us about what you think, that'd be great.
You can always share the podcast with your friends. No shame in that game.
Yes, right? Yeah. Share what you love. Cool. Well, we are talking today with Alexis Arnold. She's been taking professional photographs since 2001, which is amazing. After living in Portland, Oregon for 15 years, she ran a successful wedding and portrait photography business, and now she's back in Wisconsin. We are so happy to have her back. And she focuses her photography now on business branding and interiors for real estate agents. So she also teaches at our local technical college in Green Bay. So welcome, Alexis. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
How's your day so far?
Good. It's kind of starting to feel like summer outside finally.
Absolutely, yes. And if you're not from Wisconsin, that means anything above anything above 50 degrees feels like summer. So
yes.
Or 100% humidity.
Yes.
Oh,
the
yeah.
stickiness.
Yeah, humidity is bad up here.
Absolutely. Yeah, no kidding. So we're talking customer service today with Alexis. And obviously you've been in business for a while, so
going with our July theme here, customer service, we've got a few questions we're going to interview Alexis with. The first question we got for her is, when it comes to customer service, what one thing could help an entrepreneur or small business out?
One thing that I could tell to help them out, gosh, I think communication is key, right? Especially because we're inundated nowadays with a lot of tech communication coming at us, right? We've got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, but people still want to have that communication that if they send you an email from their website to your website, when are you responding? Are you responding that same day? Are you responding 2 days later? Are you responding 3 days? Are you responding with like an automated, right, email, which I know is really popular now because people get busy with a lot of things, but you have to kind of step back and be like, is that kind of depersonalizing things, right? From a business standpoint, we've kind of really created, I think, a lot of impersonalization over the years that I think it's important to get back to personalizing things. Pick up the phone. Like, don't be afraid to like call your client and be like, hey, this is Alexis. You guys are looking for portraits, and like start that communication and really kind of get a feel of who they are. So that would probably be my number one thing is communication. Yeah. Actually kind of just ran into a weird situation like a few minutes ago with another company that didn't communicate clearly with me.
Uh-oh.
And, I was like, okay, well, hey, you didn't pass that information on to me, so I'm just going to like have to cancel my order, because there just wasn't clear communication. So,
Man, that's awful. Hopefully it wasn't something important.
No, it's just, it's one of those things where I think when you're caught by surprise, you never want that to happen with your customer, right? You don't want them to be like, oh, well, I didn't know about that. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have a travel fee, right? For, going to, I'm kind of using like photography as an example here, for going to your customer, but maybe you didn't relay that information to them. I don't think there's anything worse than all of a sudden you're just like tacking that onto the bill and they're like, well, why are you charging me $50 to travel? You're like, oh, well, that's, that's what I do. I have a travel fee. So like everything I think needs to be really upfront and clear. So yeah, communication I think is something we all need to work on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's say hypothetically someone listening was bad at communicating. This is probably what's going to happen next. How do you handle disgruntled customers then?
Man, that is a really good question. And, I feel like it's going to happen to somebody at some point, no matter what, right? We're all going to you're going to have to deal with someone who's unhappy with your services, with your product, whatever it is. Again, I think that goes back to just really picking up the phone. Like, let's get away from that email, from like misinterpreting things, get away from text messages. And now's the time to pick up the phone, call that customer, that client, be like, hey, like, what's going on? Like, really kind of hear them out. When you get a chance to hear, I think, the tone of someone's voice, kind of, the way they're speaking, you can really start to decipher and break down like a lot that's going on. Maybe there's other stuff that's stressing them out that you don't know about at home. Maybe it's a family member who's really upset and it's not even them and they're relaying the message. So for me, thankfully, I haven't had too many issues with that, but it's really about diffusing it and figuring out, okay, what's really the root of the problem here? And then, let's come up with a solution. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, back in the day when I worked in retail, we always talked about how just changing your verbiage too can really diffuse a disgruntled customer. So instead of saying like, hey, what's the problem? That's bad language, because there are no good problems. There's never been a good problem to have. But there's good situations. So like, hey, could you tell me what the situation is? Because there could be good situations or bad situations. So even just changing like how we approach things with customers is huge.
I agree. And I've done, retail as well. And you're right. It's how they come at you. If they're coming in a heightened state, right? They're anxious. If they're kind of like you can feel like there's some anxiety. I think, coming at them calmly and trying to slow it down a little bit will help everyone get a better understanding as well. So.
Oh, for sure. And now, so you have experience from like the wedding and portrait industry too. So, I mean, man, we all have stories, I bet.
I was blessed. I don't know if it's just because the people on the West Coast are a little bit more chill, but I thankfully am friends with a lot of my past, brides and couples, and keep in touch with them on Facebook. I don't think I really had any issues with any of my couples. If anything, it was maybe a family member, like mother of the bride.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
And usually the couple's trying to diffuse that as well. So before it gets to you, but yeah, thankfully I didn't have too many. It was more, if I had an issue, it was more commercial clients. They have a little bit different way of doing things. So
that's true.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a story here.
Oh man!
I hear my dog. There it goes.
I used to be an assistant manager for Office Max. We had a few stories. Office Max.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had a few stories. Going back to listen. Honestly, listen. They just want to be heard. Most of the time, they just want to be heard. I also own Fortune Talent DJ company here in Appleton area. We haven't, knock on wood, gotten a lot. I mean, every once in a while, I've had a mother of the bride question what happened that night because they weren't in the loop for when we're planning everything with the bride and groom, that, she didn't expect that happened that way, or it was a different song and she was expecting this song when they picked a different song. But other than that, really, we haven't had much going on there. But as a business owner, yeah, I would have to reiterate, definitely communication would actually probably help not have disgruntled customers. But first is to listen and let them speak out everything that they want to bring to your attention. Well, because the reason why they're coming out via text message, over the phone, email, whichever way they're getting back to you, is because they want to be heard.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of adding on to that, if you have maybe a client or a customer who is a little maybe quiet and you're not really kind of, maybe, I don't know, like understanding, or they're not really communicating that much, then it's on our end to start asking questions. Really just start digging in, kind of just, piggybacking on like DJing and like anything that has to do with weddings. Like if you're in that industry, you have to ask questions.
Oh yeah, you got one shot. And then once the day's done, it's like, well, we screwed something up. Now it's on us. Yeah. I mean, seriously, you got one take at this. It's like once you hit the play button, it's go time.
Right. Oh, for sure. And even if you're not in the wedding industry, even like the situation that you just had with the company, I mean, that could have been the only chance they had to work with you and earn their business. And now you're gone, right? So
right. Yeah. I mean, I probably won't go back to them. So just because of just the way they handled it, because I know there's a lot of other companies that do the same thing that they do.
Right.
Yeah. And it was a photo editing, company. And I was like, oh, I'll save some time because it's stuff that I can actually do. But, I'm trying to push some of that off of my plate. And instead it just kind of ended up being a waste of time, if you know what I mean, if that makes sense. So.
No, it does. That's so disappointing though. But, because you're not only putting your reputation on the line, you're putting your clients' images into somebody else's hands. So.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Oh man. You okay there, Chris?
Yeah, I'm just reading the question here in my head before I open my mouth here, but we'll just go with it.
Pull a Rachel and just stumble over your words and then repeat yourself 30 times.
I'm new. This is my first time.
Welcome, Chris.
In your opinion, when is the most important time? Holy cow, I can't even read my own writing here.
I love it.
Is customer, okay, in your opinion, when is customer service most important when working with your clients?
Oh, man. I mean, like we were just kind of talking about a few minutes ago, we kind of segued into it, I think, right at the beginning, right? I mean, with questions, you can start asking questions, have forms to fill out, before they submit through your website, right? What date are you looking, let's say, for whatever the services that you're providing? What exactly are you looking for? If you offer multiple services, start just asking these basic questions, and then you really kind of need to start narrowing it down after that. So I would say right off the bat, I'm always just like, okay, hey, cool. Okay, well, when do you want to do this? Okay, well, let's say it's senior portraits. Okay, well, have you thought of a location? What kind of look do you want? Like, just start digging in and start kind of opening them up and get them thinking. And you'll start to find out they may or may not have answers to these questions. And that's going to also help you decide, well, maybe you're not ready for my services yet, right? If they're kind of still in that like brainstorming mode and they don't have answers to a lot of your questions. So it's always a good idea to kind of start, like I said, like right away at your website. And then once you have contacts, okay, well, let's start narrowing it down. Obviously, once they book, now you really kind of get in to that customer service level of, creating whatever it is that they want. So, yeah. Does that answer that?
It does.
For sure. I mean, because coming retail background, obviously, I worked for American Eagle and Office Max, both of them for quite a few years. We feel like, retail. I remember walking into like Walmart or Shopko when they were still around. And you had your customer service counter, like that was considered customer service. For retail, literally, if you needed help with something, you went to the customer service counter. I think that in itself is probably what is hurting retail most of the time. Because you go into a Best Buy now, there's not a customer service counter. There's nowhere does it say customer service. The blue shirt team is walking around. They're there to serve the customers. You have your Geek Squad counter. You've got your online pickup counter. You got your returns and exchanges counter. Nowhere does it say customer service. Or otherwise, that if it does, I've never noticed it.
No.
I agree. It's shifted a lot. And I think, when you do walk into a store and you are greeted by someone right away and they do start talking to you, I think some people are almost shocked by that, right? Because it's like they're not used to it. Because like you're saying, they're just got people wandering around, these electronic stores that are not, unless you go and seek them out, they're not really always helping you. And that's hopefully something that's going to start shifting like back to like high levels of customer service. I feel like there's all these awful stories that we're hearing in headlines all the time, right? Whether it's with the airlines or with retail about people just not being treated right? And that comes down to what you said, like customer service. It's not that hard to say hi to somebody.
Right, and definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, it really isn't. Be like, hey, how's your day going?
Right. Oh, for sure.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, we picked up food last night from one of our favorite restaurants, and I walked in. We'd ordered ahead, so all I had to do was pick up the food, pay for it, and leave. So I walked in, and 5 people walked past me without saying a word.
Wow.
And I was livid. And I'm not a person to get mad about stuff, but I was like, okay, that was the 5th person who walked past. So finally a manager saw me and, she's like, hey, have you been helped? And I just shook my head. No, I was so mad. I didn't say anything.
Right.
I'm sure it looked like I was going to kill her. She's like, oh, fine, I'll help you. And she probably had been pulling the weight the whole shift. So obviously not on her, but if someone would have just acknowledged me standing there, it would have made a world of difference. But
yeah,
I was like, darn it, you're my favorite place. Be nice to me. I spend so much money with you.
I won't want to mess with you when you're hangry either.
I know. That was the
when
thing.
You're angry, it's the worst.
Yes, don't get between me and my wings.
But you're so right. Something as simple as just being like, hello, how are you today? Or what can I help you with? Even if they're busy and they're on the way to do something, like you said, it's just that greeting.
Right. Absolutely. Or hey, I'm not running the counter, but someone will be with you soon. Cool.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. And that comes back to what we originally were talking about, the communication.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I did grab an angry handful of mints before I left.
Turn around and pelt somebody with them on your way out the door.
I did not do that, but I was like, I deserve these now. So I did grab those.
I'll show them.
I still have my mints of anger in my purse. I'll share it on Instagram later.
Give me all the mints.
Yeah,
I love it.
kind of. So, Alexis, what does customer service mean to you? Since there's so many different types of customer service, what's the core of it for you?
We kind of got this ongoing theme. I think it's just like we were talking about being acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way if I go somewhere. Obviously there's times where we're in a rush and, you just kind of want to get in and out, but it's still nice to have somebody like, hi, welcome to whatever the store is. Or like you said, if you're at a restaurant, the host is that initial person that does that greeting. Mm-hmm. And when they just stand there and ignore you, that's disheartening. So yeah, really for me, I want to communicate with my clients, with my customers. I want to get to know more about them. And I think that usually then really kind of happens, on the photography session during the shoot. It's definitely intimidating, I think, having your photo taken, whether you like to have it done or not. For a lot of people, they kind of dread it, right?
Right.
It's sad to say, a lot of people I've worked with kind of relate having their picture taken to going to the dentist.
Oh no.
I was like, I don't think those are related at all.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that really just have that anxiety around it. So for me, if I can just, be calm, right? Let's have a fun time, kind of demystify it, right? Again, communicate like, this is what I'm doing. This is how we're going to do it. And just really kind of just try to break down those barriers. We usually end up having a great time and they're happy with their photos. So again, it's just kind of creating that relationship. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And I mean, their conceptions too of what a session might be from a terrible experience they've had in the past too. And so just breaking down those expectations they already have set up to say like, no, I'm professional. This is how it should have been. Right.
And I think that's hard, especially, I feel like I'm dating myself when I say it, and nowadays.
You're good. Keep going.
I'm like an old lady. But, I hate to have to keep going back to that, but anyone can build a website. Anyone can pop up a Facebook page and start putting up stuff, whether it's theirs or not, right? And start basically promoting themselves as a business professional. So, and that's scary in every field. It doesn't matter what it is. With photographers, I think that's something that's, really kind of populated probably over the past 10 years. I took a good picture, now I'm a photographer. Or my friend got married and they let me take photos. Guess what? I'm a wedding photographer now. And so, like you're saying with these customers, it's like they don't know, right? They see a nice fancy website, they hire them, and then they're like, oh, they have a bad experience, like you were saying. So unfortunately, I think in all areas of customer service, then if you are experienced, you almost have to like backtrack and you have to like break that down, like you were saying. So it's kind of weird times. You can't trust the internet, folks.
Yeah, right.
True story.
But you can trust a podcast.
I love it.
Well, I mean, you're hearing somebody's voice, their actual voice. They're here talking. It's a little more than throwing up some copy and paste on a website somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's more personal for sure. Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna go off on a tangent. Okay, keep going.
Well, you can keep talking about why our podcast is amazing. It's fine with me.
I love it.
Just kidding.
All right.
All right, going on here. If we were to ask randomly one of your past clients, what would they say about your company? What makes your company stand out?
Oh man.
Or yourself?
Yeah. I mean, from what, I'm just going off what my past customers or clients have said. I think a lot of times, they've had photos taken of themselves. They're not happy with them. Whether, you're doing it yourself, a friend or family member is doing it. It doesn't have to be professional. And there's a lot of times where we don't want to have our photo taken because we just don't like the way we look, right? And so I think one of the biggest compliments is when they get to see their final images come back and they're like, wow, like, I didn't know I looked like that. You made me look good. They had fun. I think that's one of the biggest things is I want people to have fun when they're on a session with me. And I mean, I hope that's what they're all saying. Majority have just been like, wow, okay, cool. Like, these photos are better than anticipated. So that makes me feel good. Like I did my job then.
That's a wonderful compliment. I love that.
Yeah, right.
Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the topic of customer service or?
Gosh. I mean, I feel like we could probably like tell crazy stories and like how I resolved them and stuff like that. Yeah, right. It's like we all have at least one or two. You can, when you're starting a new business and kind of when you're going, I think things can kind of always, sometimes just be going smoothly, right? Or I tell this to my students at TC a lot. I think they kind of get into the zone where everything kind of seems like it's all sunshine and rainbows and flowers. And it's like at some point along the way, you're going to have a disgruntled client, right? Or a customer or someone who's not happy with the end product. So it's really kind of good to kind of sit down and start thinking ahead. What are your policies as a business? Are you going to reshoot it, right, for free? Are you going to refund money? Are you okay with maybe, giving some product for free? Whatever it is, I think it's good to kind of sit down before your business grows to the point where you have to possibly deal with a situation like that and start thinking about what are you comfortable doing? Mm-hmm. Right? In order to make your client happy. So, those are things that we don't want to think about and we hope never happens. But I think the sooner you kind of start to like, just type up a general policy, like start being like, okay, I'm okay, with giving my client, maybe like a set of, prints, right? Or if they're totally unhappy with the shoot, you should probably go redo the shoot. Right? For no cost. So, it's the same thing as if we order something and let's say it arrives broken, we expect it to be replaced, right? Mm-hmm. That might not be the company's policy, but as a customer, we kind of expect some way that it's going to be fixed. So I think with customer service, you have to think about that besides treating them, right, with open communication, learning about them, talking with them throughout from beginning, right, to middle to end. You also kind of have to have like a backup plan, if that makes sense. Because when that situation arrives, you also need to detach yourself, right, personally, and it needs just to be business. So that's actually probably another big thing for people just to remember is don't take anything personally. It's hard. It's hard, right? Because sometimes you feel like you're being personally attacked if the person is upset, but you kind of have to just step back and, put yourself in their shoes. Like, why are they upset? And let's try to resolve it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I love that. Yeah. And I think a lot of it too is just stepping back and like listening to what they think their core issue really is too, because maybe their issue isn't actually an issue. Maybe it was their misunderstanding of expectations going into it.
Exactly.
Right? Like if someone's self-conscious, the best portrait can't fix that. That's
right.
That's an issue that's out of your control, kind of.
Right.
But if they're mad because it started downpouring halfway through the middle of their session with you, that's probably a legitimate concern.
Right. And that's also out of your control and their control. And
Correct.
Those are things, that's why having a contract is super important. When you're doing something like this, you definitely need to go over that and send that out before your session with the clients when it comes to like photography or anything that's kind of service based. Mm-hmm. Obviously, like DJing, there like needs to be a contract involved. That way, again, that's kind of avoiding problems popping up later down the road. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's things that are out of your control. You can't control that.
Right.
So yeah. Yep. It'd definitely be in your best interest. Be like, hey, let's just reschedule. Let's do this another time when the weather's better. So yeah, definitely.
I would 100% agree. We run a contract for the DJ company, and like when I worked retail, the manager half the time didn't work with the customer. Wasn't the first point of contact or that. And one thing that Office Max did change was manager who was on duty was the greeter.
Oh,
The manager, we greeted everybody when they walked in the door. It was total different change, and they even made a manager with their title was customer experience. That was their title. They were the manager of customer experience. So then they would make sure that, you know, like the company was meeting the customer's needs rather than like customer service used to be like, okay, there's a complaint. How are we going to handle it? Well, how about what can we proactively do so we don't get to that part? Definitely. I saw here one thing you're talking about, your favorite restaurant. We're finally getting a Chick-fil-A up here in Appleton.
Yes.
And
we're a little behind people.
And from what I hear, what I read, the polls, all, you know, the awards and all that stuff that go out, Chick-fil-A seems to have like the best customer service out there. And I mean, they do TV campaigns, like commercials with stories about employees. Because they really like to highlight their employees and everything that they do. Mm-hmm. So, and I mean, you go from Walmart to Best Buy, you expect to Target, you expect different customer service experiences.
Right.
When you go to different stores, I mean, you go to Costco, you assume that there will always be a greeter. Mm-hmm. You will always be talked to, and there will be people walking around when you get up to the checkout. Not only is there going to be somebody checking out, but there's somebody walking through the crowd, making sure everybody's good. Yeah. I mean, that's different than if you walked into your local grocery store. You might have the owner walking around talking to people rather than if you're going into like a corporate setting like Costco or something. So there's always a different level customer service.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And you even hear that now with Lexus. They have commercials out, you know, about how like buying a car with us is so simple. You just come in, sign paperwork, and leave. Because they're not there to haggle you. The price is the price. And I mean, I've never been a Lexus owner before, but that highly intrigues me because that's a big time suck buying a car. And it's terrible haggling the price, you know? So if they can eliminate that, I would pay through the nose for it. So Toyota, if you're listening.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't have a Lexus budget, but Toyota, if you're listening.
Those Toyotas aren't cheap now either. So
I know, right?
No cars are.
Man, no kidding.
But,
hey, my 2007 is still running like a champion, if I could just say that, though. We are not sponsored by Toyota in any way.
But you could be.
But we could be.
Maybe next time.
Right? Yeah. But it's real talk. I mean, nobody wants to take a whole day to sit at a dealership.
No.
Right?
No.
And so they're finally, that they know that's the problem, and they're offering like a solution to it.
Absolutely.
Something else is kind of interesting to bring up because, you know, we're kind of talking about, you know, if things are kind of running smoothly and then if there's a problem. But, you know, one thing is, like you're saying, putting that manager right at that front door, greeting right away,
mm-hmm.
you know, that's kind of also, I'm like, how's this? It's also our job to kind of, what's the right word to it? Kind of pre-qualify to make sure that the client or customer isn't going to be a potential problem down the road, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that's, you know, as small business owners, that's really important. I think, again, when you're starting out and you're super eager, you're kind of like, oh, I got a job. And you just want to take it. But there's going to be red flags sometimes with your client right off the bat. And if you're not aware of those, you're going to be stuck into like larger problems. You know, if they're already having issues with like maybe not paying your deposit, right? Not getting it to you on time. That's the start of a red flag. Yeah, he's already like, that's the start of a red flag, right? Because that means that if they don't want to pay your deposit, then how are they going to pay that rest of your retainer that's due You know what I mean? Hopefully before you provide your service. And there's sometimes you may have to like be like, hey, you know, I'm just not the best match for you. But let me refer you maybe to so-and-so, you know, who could possibly help you out. So it's always good to kind of have a network of other professionals that you can refer out. But yeah, sometimes you might have to be like, hey, we're just not the best match. And you just might have to cut it off right at the beginning, you know?
Yep. That's okay to walk away.
It is. But I think for some people that's hard to do, right? For people pleasers, that's hard. We also, you know, we feel like, again, if you're starting your business, you should be able to, you want to take anything that comes your way. So it's hard to say no, I think, in the beginning. Yeah. So.
True.
Yeah. He's like, I got a story.
I mean, I don't want to put the client down or anything, but they do good work for what they're doing, but it's seriously like they don't pay. So, yeah, I kind of get a little invested in the movement that they're doing. So that's on me, partially. Still pay. So besides the Wing podcast, do you have any other recommendations for podcasts or books or radio shows?
Gosh, I mean, not really. I'm really kind of on social media a lot. So I get a lot of my information off of there. I'm kind of busy. I wish I had more time to kind of research and listen to other ones. So I kind of get quick info, you know, whether it's from Facebook, you know, Twitter's super fast for any kind of like news. Obviously I'm a visual person, so I'm on Instagram a lot. Just kind of seeing like what's kind of going on with other professionals, other products in the industry, and then kind of digging into it more from there. So, yeah. Cool.
Any books that you'd recommend?
I mean, in the beginning, I was a real big fan of, is it Seth Godin? I think is how you say his name.
Godin?
Godin?
Yep.
Yeah. His books are great. I mean, basically anything that he wrote, I was like reading a lot of those when I first started out. I think anything ask friends and family for, referrals. There's so many good business books out there and customer service books right now. If you don't have experience like with customer service, like get out there, get a retail job. I think everyone should be a server at some point. Right. And like the restaurant industry, because
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that I think will just kind of change your outlook and give you respect for the service industry and just, customer service in general. I feel like we all got to go through it.
Yes.
At some point. Yeah.
Yes. So
because it's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the industry is going from manufacturing, industrial to service-based in the United States here. Definitely, you can see that with the mills and all that stuff closing, and now banks are popping up. Small businesses are growing, and we do so much more service-based stuff than we used to. I mean, we were all trained. This is a Seth Godin quote here. We were all trained in business to follow, or in school to follow. Like we were being herded cats, or however you want to call it. Like schools are made to train you to work, and you then went and worked for the man. You went and got a factory job. You had your benefits. You had all that stuff. Like that was safe. And now that's not safe. It's not there. Like 401ks are disappearing. Pensions are disappearing. Like mills are closing. So yeah, totally different economy now that we're in. We are totally moving to a service-based. I mean, customer service will play number one. I mean, people buy we buy stuff from Amazon because I know if I got a problem, I'll just hop on the computer and talk to one of the customer service agents, and like 3 times that I've ever had to do it in like 12 years.
Right.
I've only ever had to do it 3 times because I've never had an issue. And they always took care of it. Like if shipping was delayed before I signed up for Prime, or if I got the 1-day rush on something and it was delayed, they refunded it. They took care of it. Or now with their thing with Kohl's, or if you get the you do a return process through the app, they give you a QR code. You bring it to any UPS store. They scan it. They take the product from you. Literally, by the time you walk out the door, you got a message from Amazon saying your account will be credited in 1 to 3 business days. Mm-hmm. Literally, I had my refund the next day before the product probably even got to Amazon, because they know they asked you so many questions to figure out what was wrong with it. And then if it was defective or broken, they're going to take care of it.
Right.
And customer service has honestly stepped up like crazy with some of these companies, because that's what they're relying on is customer service, rather than not everybody can compete with Walmart pricing and stuff like that. So,
right.
I mean, I've walked into Walmart, walked out of Walmart with not a clue because there's no customer service.
No. Even like Target, I've been thinking about this the whole time. Target, their red phone thing, like, you can pick up a red phone and talk to anybody with questions at any time. No one wants to pick up a phone. Like, Target, could you address that, please? Because isn't that funny? Like, they're still relying on that mode of customer service, and half the people don't even know about it. And the other half of the people don't want to be on the phone. Like,
right. Yes. But I still love my Target.
I know, that dollar spot.
Yeah. I think another, just kind of, we didn't really touch on this yet, is, and the nice thing, obviously we're talking about big companies here, but like you're talking about, customer service is always it's just different when you're dealing with smaller companies, smaller businesses, because you get to know who's really behind it, right? You get to like, a lot of times you're face to face with them, or you're working with just them. Like I don't have a team of people behind me, like it's just me. So when you're, talking to me, it's like, it's me, right?
Sure.
But another big thing to pass on to people with customer service, and you're kind of digging into this, maybe this kind of relates to Amazon, is, always under promise, over deliver, right? Mm-hmm. Huge when it comes to customer service. So just to give like an idea, I'll basically tell, my clients, and it'll be on the website, even in the contract, that let's say it's just a basic, portrait session. Your images will be ready, let's say in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Right. So I'm going to communicate with them 3 different ways. But what am I going to do instead? I'm going to deliver before that 2 weeks, probably within a week. Mm-hmm. So then they'll be like, oh my gosh, Alexis.
Yes.
This is awesome. Like you got them done earlier. So that's something too to think about when you're lining up, like we talked about policies and like kind of your business model is how can you incorporate that into your service or your product?
Yes.
Right. Amazon is what? Man, they'll get it to you same day.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
That's amazing, right? But if you don't get it same day and you order that same day, well, now those 2 things have like flipped, and now you start to get frustrated, right? So it's like you have to be careful with it as well. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I think that's a really good one for people just to remember. Under promise, over deliver.
I love it. I love it. Very cool. So, if you guys want to connect with Alexis, the best way is to get social. So you can follow her on Instagram, Twitter. You can find her on Facebook. Just type in A as an apple and then Arnold, Arnold, photos, PHOTOS, and you'll be able to connect with her. So again, that's A Arnold photos, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find her.
Otherwise, go to thewingpodcast.com and click on our episode, and we'll have all that contact info in there with that.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me. This was fun. You guys, you broke me in. This is my first podcast.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That's what we like.
I love it. Tons of fun. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, have a great Tuesday.